Okay. The other thing about the space program that I wanted to notice also, like you noticed, that the book name, the Artemis program is also a branding case study. The name isn't random. They named it after Artemis, Apollo's sister, which was the previous, iteration of the moon of the rockets that went to the moon. Um, and she's
54 years ago.
also I know. Yes, I know. That's so dumb. It's one of those things like it should have been, happening. And it's funny because there's so many more like TV shows now that like talk about being out in space, right? I mean, what for all mankind, right? Where it's like now I think this season they're on Mars and The Expanse is like amazing.
Mhm.
Um but anyway, so this is also structurally clever because it includes women this time around. So um, it's just kind of bringing to the fore that's like Apollo's twin sister. Women are finally going to the moon. Christina Koch becomes the first woman to fly the lunar distance. And then another like little angle here was that Phil Lord and Christopher Miller, the two directors of Project Hail Mary, were originally fired from Solo, a Star Wars story. So one wonders what would have happened to that movie if they'd still stayed on.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, yeah, I would love to see their Star Wars movie. I think it would have
Yeah,
been so much
right.
better. But also, like, there's this phrase that I've heard that, like, simple times require complex heroes and hard times
Mm,
require simple heroes. And I feel like it's like the perfect demo because, like, we're probably in like a really hard times right now with
yeah.
everything that's happening. And it's like first with like the new Superman movie, which is
Hmm.
almost like a retro in that sense. It's
Hmm.
also really hopeful, like not a complicated character. Like the character
Hmm.
himself is absolutely pure. It's just like,
Right.
like the things that are happening to him that are more complex. And like Hail Mary sort of like follows the same path here. And
Hmm.
I guess we'll see a lot more of like these movies. Well, until Dune, I guess.
I know, right?
Dune will be different. But yeah, like there's definitely some tone, and we'll see a lot more, I think, movies.
I hope so. Yeah, just on that. I mean, it's the fact that he's a school teacher, right? I mean, obviously he has like degrees. I think it was in molecular biology or something, which is why he was chosen to be at least the bottom string of, the astronauts. But the point is that like, it's a real guy, that's like figuring everything out and kind of like it reminds me of the Apollo 13 movie, right, which was like super popular back in the 90s, and featured like an actual moon story. um so it's like, just hitting on those moments of being wanting to be optimistic. So that's one of my lessons for, for this segment is that optimism is a content strategy and not just a tone. I've kind of been, talking about this a lot because of, what I had labeled the Monsters Inc. strategy of marketing, where it's like we got to get people away from the scare floor, which is like, making them angry, making them, scared, and then using humor or laughter to get and optimism to get people to like your brand. And I feel like this is another one of those instances of wanting people to rally behind a movie and like a space adventure and like science and technology, right? We were talking last week about tech and AI just having super bad PR right now. And I think this is one of those things that it's like there are ways to get people to enjoy technology and to rally behind it and cheer them on by creating these moments of like success or supposed
Mhm.
success. Hopefully nothing goes wrong tomorrow with the rocket ship launch or out in space when they're out there for 10 days. Another one is that when we have moments of monoculture like this, I think it's great for other brands to kind of jump on. Like here, we're seeing IMAX do it, right, where it's like they're getting a benefit of it, but they're also kind of espousing the points of having an IMAX theater and why it's better, and getting more people like on the side of that. I also see like a lot of artists, directors, actors come out in support of Project Hail Mary because they want the industry to be doing well, and they want companies like Amazon and Apple to be um patrons of the arts and, giving funding to these types of movies and not just, reality TV shows on Netflix, you know?
Ultimately, like the most important lesson here is just like you don't have to be edgy to make you look cool. I think that's
Mhm.
like, I mean, like if you look at the sort of like race in the movie, he doesn't look cool most of the time,
Yeah.
actually, but I think he's still like an extremely cool character. So
Yeah.
I like that we're getting sort of like back into this mode for mass culture, and I hope we'll stay here for a while.
Yes. Yes, definitely. Though in this next segment, we'll learn about a company that didn't do so well.